Everybody, welcome. Dawn Duncan, Green Geek Diva. It is Saturday, October 26, 2024. Continuing some videos that I have been doing about Project 2025. I did the first one related to this concept of how Project 2025 would enable discrimination across society. And yesterday I covered the issue of embolden racial discrimination in everything from housing to education to employment. Today, I'm going to talk about the part of this that around discrimination, making it harder for historically under-resourced communities to access Medicaid, Head Start, and other government programs. So let's just dig in here. Okay, let's see what they have to say. So population counts can be essential to groups receiving appropriations and resources from the federal government, like Medicaid, Head Start, community mental health programs, and much more. As a grant writer with lots of experience helping my clients access federal programs, I can certainly attest to the fact that the counting and the understanding of population levels is integral to being able to decide how to allocate resources to address the needs of communities in all kinds of ways. So this does make sense to me that if Project 2025 is trying to eliminate the accuracy of counting the number of people in these under-resourced communities, it says it would hurt communities that have been economically marginalized. I would go so far as to say it could devastate these communities. So this is another way that Project 2025 would have a negative impact on our society as a whole. So basically what this is saying is that the special interest behind Project 2025, they want to reverse the long-standing body of work that has been put together by civil rights activists who over the years, it's usually activism that gets things, that starts to make social change. This goes all the way back to, almost any rights that people have in society go all the way back to slavery. It was abolitionists who fought to end slavery. It was the women's suffrage movement that fought for women to have equal rights, that got women the right to vote. Work related. The reason that little children don't work these days is because people fought before child labor laws were passed. Children would be required to work just like their parents. So just keep in mind, in our society, things have only changed because there were groups of people who stood up to things and fought for changes to make society more humane. So Project 2025 is trying to undo a lot of that based on their extremely narrow worldview, which they call a conservative worldview. I would say that it's more of a theocratic worldview, in that they're trying to make people think it's just a conservative worldview, but it's much more insidious than that. So, okay, so let's see what they say here. Collect more sophisticated data. Okay, so collecting more sophisticated data when it comes to racial and ethnic groups has helped communities that have been historically under-resourced because of racial demographics to receive proper allocations of resources. And let's see what it says here. As recently as March 2024, the Biden administration issued a revision to Statistical Directive Number 15, which governs standards for maintaining, collecting, and presenting federal data on race and ethnicity. So this revision is for more accurate and useful race and ethnicity data collection across various agencies of the U.S. federal government. Keep in mind, this is all within the context of the goal of having the government be set up so that it can best address the needs of society. It's all toward positive outcomes and positive aims, okay? That's the goal, like to actually serve and support society and our citizens, which is built into the preamble of the Constitution, where it talks about promoting the general welfare. It's part of what the government is required to do under our Constitution. Project 2025, however, would advise a future administration to hamstring these revisions by instructing the White House Office of Management and Budget to reverse them and ensure that other federal agencies are not aiding in the collection of more accurate data. This would leave historically underrepresented communities at a disadvantage when it comes to accessing critical programs rely on every day, from things like Medicaid to Head Start. And it specifically says right here from page 680 of the Mandate for Leadership, a new conservative administration should take control of this process and thoroughly review any changes. And let's see, review for, okay, they're saying the current administration has announced its intent to change data collection methods regarding race and ethnicity by combining the two questions on the decennial questionnaire and increasing the number of available options. So they don't want them to do this because they don't want to help underserved communities. They don't want to help people of color. They don't want to create opportunities. They don't want to spend money. This is all within that conservative, narrow worldview that they're trying to turn the United States into. It's disgusting. And honestly, when I start looking at this stuff, some of this stuff I think in certain ways is among the most insidious because it can almost be thought. Some people will think, oh, it's not that big a deal. It's data. It's just data collection, right? But no, actually, it is a big deal because if you don't have the right information, you're not going to have the information that would help lead you to the best solving of the problem. And they don't want you to have the information because they want to create this narrative that certain things are a certain way rather than relying on the actual data that actually defines and describes the truth about what is going on. So this one I do feel is particularly insidious. Wow. Thoroughly review any changes. Amazing. So, yeah. And if you think about Medicaid, Head Start, and other government programs like Head Start is like a really successful and really cost-effective program. A lot of children without Head Start would not have any access to any preschool programming because they wouldn't be able to afford it. So like Head Start has really made a big impact on the success of children and helping to kind of equalize and level the playing field. Wow. Yeah, this one really gets to me. Okay, so that's number 2 under this broader concept of enabling discrimination across society. So that's the second way that discrimination would be enabled, making it harder for communities to access these programs, Medicaid, Head Start, and other government programs. So they want to screw with the data so that they can say, oh, see, the data doesn't show anything, or the data shows there's not a need, or there's no data about that. So this is very insidious. Please keep that in mind. Let's do number 3, undermine gender equity across the government. Okay, so let's see what this one is. Let me scroll back up here. Okay. Project 2025 would eliminate the White House Gender Policy Council, which is key to promoting contraception access, gender-based violence prevention, and women's health equity. All right, so I have something to say about this one also because I have a master's in public health with a concentration in maternal and child health from the Harvard School of Public Health. And let me tell you, when I was in graduate school there in the early 1990s, a lot of what we learned about was the work that decades of activist strong women had done to really promote women's health equity and to even get focus on any of women's health issues like even breast cancer, ovarian cancer, uterine cancer, pregnancy, prenatal care, etc., because there was many years where the decades where these kinds of issues were not considered important at all. So this would go way back in time to the time before these kinds of issues, women's health, were dealt with. And listen, let's be honest that even in the year 2024, there's still a lot of room to grow. There's still not nearly enough focus on women's health issues as there should be. Okay. But this wouldn't even move us forward. This would take us back. Okay. Under the Biden administration, the White House Gender Policy Council has led efforts to increase access to contraception. They've published the National Plan to End Gender-Based Violence. And this makes sense because if you recall, Joe Biden has been very, very integral in the Violence Against Women Act. I don't know exactly what year it started, but he's been a big proponent of that when it started several years ago when he was a senator. So this is something that is probably an issue that's very close to his heart and important to him. So part of the work of the Biden-Harris administration has been publishing the National Plan to End Gender-Based Violence and groundbreaking research into how women's health is studied across the country. Those are all progress that's been made by the Biden-Harris administration. Project 2025 would immediately disband this council and prioritize coordinating efforts that push for, quote, promoting life and emphasize a narrow vision of what defines a family. This is from page 62 of the mandate for leadership. So it would not be an expansive view of women's health. It would be a contracted view. And we know what they mean by promoting life, which would be all the anti-abortion stuff and anti-contraception, women not having access to reproductive health care, etc. Okay, this one really gets my goat. Whew, that's a big one. Okay, that's number 3. I think we'll stop there for this video, and I'll continue. My next videos will be about numbers 4 and 5. Well, maybe 4, 5, and 6. Maybe we'll do all 3 of them in the next one, because there's 6 specific areas under Project 2025 in which has the potential to enable discrimination across society. So we have now covered number 1, number 2, and number 3. And the next videos we'll do 4, 5, and 6. But yeah, this gender equity one, this one really gets my goat. Especially because the reality from a public health perspective is that when you have access to legal abortion as part of access to reproductive health care in general, you actually tend to have less abortions. So those things are all interconnected. So I digress a bit, but yes, wow. They want to get rid of the White House Gender Policy Council and the National Plan to End Gender-Based Violence. These people are callous. They are callous, and they do not care about you unless you fit their very narrow worldview. Okay, onward we go. Again, today is Saturday, October 26th, 2024. Please make sure that you are registered to vote. Make sure if you can, you early vote. Get out there, have your voice be heard. It's really, really important. And as the Grant Geek Diva always says, you don't have to get it perfect, but you do have to get it rolling. I hope that everyone has a wonderful day, and we will be back to talk to you very soon. Bye for now.